Believe it or not, it's been almost 6 years since Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker first launched. And let's be honest, the game has been through a lot. From a rough start to a surprising comeback and now to what might be its final stretch. It's been quite the journey to say the least. But if you look at the current player stats and community activity, things aren't exactly looking great. So the big question is, are we finally approaching the end of Shinobi Striker? That's exactly what we're gonna be diving into today. We're gonna be taking a look back at how we got here, break down the current state of the game, and talk about what the future might look like. Whether that's more updates, a potential sequel, or the end of the road. And to really understand where we're at now, we're gonna have to start at the beginning. So let's rewind back to the summer of 2018. When Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker first dropped back in August 2018, the excitement surrounding the game was definitely there. I mean, a full-blown online multiplayer Naruto game where you could create your own ninja and fight in 4v4 battle across big maps? It sounded like a dream come true for a lot of longtime fans, but that dream hit a bit of a rough start. At launch, Shinobi Striker was, well, kind of bare bones. Critics and players both pointed out the obvious: not enough content, repetitive missions, long matchmaking times, and a character roster that felt more like a teaser than a full lineup, with the game only having 20 characters to use at the time of release. And well, if you wanted to play as some of the more iconic characters, they were locked behind DLCs. So a lot of early feedback was pretty mixed. The core idea was cool, but it didn't feel like it was all the way there yet. But well, the good thing is, the devs didn't just abandon the game. Over the next few years, Bandai Namco and the developer kept dropping major updates and seasonal DLC packs. Every few months, the game would get new playable characters like Madara, Obito, Shisui, Berryaramo, Naruto, and eventually even characters from Boruto. Each new master came with unique jutsu you could learn and customize for your own avatar, which started to make the combat way more interesting and layered. And they didn't just stop at characters either. Over time they added new maps, extra game modes like survival battle, balance patches, UI improvements, or even new ninja tools and customization options. And they actually listened to the community feedback. A lot of the stuff people complained about at launch, stale combat, lack of variety, slowly got fixed or improved. The player base reflected this shift too. After a big dip in the first year, the game quietly started to make a comeback. Around 2020 and 2021, especially during the pandemic, more people jumped in, either picking it up on a sale or trying it after seeing how much content had been added. There was even a huge spike when it got included as a free PlayStation Plus game back in 2022. Suddenly, lobbies were full again and people were actually recommending it to others, saying things like it's come a long way or it's actually pretty fun now. And that's kind of the awesome part of Shinobi Striker. It didn't launch as a polished, perfect game, far from it actually. But over the years, it grew into something fans could genuinely appreciate. Not just for the flashy jutsu or the nostalgia, but because the devs stuck with it and gave players a reason to return. It might never have been a blockbuster hit, but for a lot of Naruto fans, it became a low-key favorite. A game that finally lets you jump into the ninja world not just as Naruto or Sasuke, but as your own custom shinobi. And that, in the end, is what kept people coming back. But like most online games, the second wave didn't last forever. From 2022 up to now, the player base gradually thinned out again. The game still got new DLCs, including fan-favorite characters like Kid Naruto or Kid Sasuke. But without any major reinvention or a full-blown sequel, it started to show its age. On PC, the player count dropped back to a few hundred on average, and while the PlayStation community stayed livelier, it was clear the hype had cooled down. Which brings us to where the game stands today. On Steam, Shinobi Striker is averaging around 250 concurrent players a day, and if you look at the player count charts, it's pretty easy to spot when new DLC drops. There's always a noticeable spike, but over time, those spikes have gotten smaller and shorter lived. It's not surprising really either. That's just how online games go. They rarely stay at their peak forever, and it feels like Shinobi Striker is naturally winding down. One reason for this slow decline might be the pacing of new content. We used to get new DLC characters every 2 months, but now it's stretched out to 3. And while the devs have still been releasing new jutsu and summoning animals in between, which are cool, no doubt, they just don't bring back players in the same way a new master does. That said, the most recent DLCs have been some of the best we've ever seen. A lot of new jutsu have fresh mechanics and fun gimmicks that really shake up the meta in a good way. Another recent addition is the introduction of SS Plus weapons, a new tier of gear that often mimics the fighting style of a specific character. These have kind of split the community. On one hand, they look great and feel satisfying to use, but on the other, they're often super strong and actually pretty easy to use, which can be frustrating if you're on the receiving end of them. Plus, they're locked behind the game's gacha system, so unless you get lucky, you might end up spending quite a bit of money just to get one. It's one of the main reasons some players feel like Shinobi Striker leans a bit too hard into the pay-to-win territory. Nevertheless, I have a whole video covering this topic in depth, so I'll leave the link to that in the description for anyone who might be interested. Then there's the issue that's been surrounding the game since day one: cheaters. This hits PC players the hardest, but even console players aren't completely safe. That being said, it's not unique to this game, of course, but it still drags down their experience, and the devs haven't really gotten it under control after all these years. And probably the most frustrating thing for a lot of players right now is the matchmaking. If you've played the game for more than a few hours, you've likely had those matches where your team is a bunch of low-level newbies while the other side is stacked with max prestige coordinated players. It's not a fair fight, and more often than not, it's a complete stomp. Combine that with the fact that you can spend like 5 to 10 minutes just waiting to find a match, and it makes queuing for any team mode feel like a gamble with your time. Not to mention the horrible state the game is in when it comes to its network issues. Still, for all its issues, Shinobi Striker does a lot right. It's arguably the best Naruto game you can play right now. The core combat is still a blast, the jutsu customization is super fun, and pulling off creative combos with your build never gets old. The problem isn't the gameplay, it's all the little things around it that slowly wear you down. But if you can push past that, there's still a genuinely fun ninja game here with a lot to offer, especially for fans of the series. So, the question now is, where exactly is this game headed? Just 2 months ago, we got the most recent developer letter, and to a lot of people's surprise, it confirmed that another season is on the way. Many players had assumed the last one might be the final stretch for Shinobi Striker, so hearing that the devs were still pushing forward caught a lot of us off guard. And honestly, by the time this video goes live, the next season might already be out, or just around the corner. That said, it does raise another question: what characters are there even left to add? If you've been paying attention to the recent DLC drops, it's clear that devs have shifted their focus to characters with a lot of buzz around them. Either nostalgic versions of iconic characters like Kid Naruto or Kid Sasuke, or newer, flashier Boruto era forms like Borushiki or Karma Enhanced Kawaki. But here's the thing, those kinds of characters are starting to run out. Most of the big names are already in the game. From the Boruto side, Code is really the last major hype-worthy addition left. After that, the devs would probably have to turn to more side characters like Kiba, Karin, or Kushina. And while the core fanbase would absolutely appreciate those additions, I'm not sure they're the kind of names that bring back lapsed players or attract new people. Something else we haven't seen in a long time is a brand new game mode. And unfortunately, there's been zero indication that one is coming. And that's a real shame, because honestly, a fresh and innovative mode could breathe new life into the game, shake things up, and give players a real reason to return. But at this point, it seems like the only way we'll get something that ambitious is if Shinobi Striker 2 becomes a reality. Now, given where the game is, with player count slowly declining and the pool of meaningful DLC editions shrinking, it feels like there are only two directions left to go. Either support for Shinobi Striker winds down over the next year or two, or we get a proper sequel. And while there's been no official announcement yet, I don't think we can rule it out. The game's longevity alone is proof that there's a dedicated audience for this kind of team-based ninja combat. It's outlived expectations, and most importantly, it's proven to be profitable, not just through DLCs but also through the scroll system and SS Plus weapons, which plenty of players are still spending money on. And that's why I believe that Shinobi Striker could be a huge win for both the studio and the fans. The developers now know exactly what works and what doesn't. They've had over 6 years of community feedback, balance tweaks, and system refinements. If they launch a sequel with better graphics, smoother netcode, crossplay support, or a handful of new and fun game modes right out the gate, and maybe a story-driven co-op mode, it could be everything people wanted from the first game, just done right from day one. So, if you ask me where I think we're heading, I'd say we'll probably get 1, maybe 2 more seasons of updates. Then at some point, maybe late 2025 or 2026, Shinobi Striker 2 might finally get announced. Maybe not immediately after the final season, but I genuinely don't think Bandai Namco is not interested in a sequel. The demand is clearly there, and now they've got the blueprint, all they need to do is execute. And that's about everything I have to say regarding the game. I honestly really hope the game doesn't just stop getting support without any sequel. as I think it's probably the closest we'll get to the dream Naruto game fans have been wanting forever. And I am genuinely hopeful for that sequel to happen. I think it makes a lot of sense. Whether that will actually be the case is still yet to be seen. For now, at least I hope you have enjoyed this video and I will see you all soon. Bye!